Welcome to the Power of Love show, sponsored by the D.D. Jackson Foundation, where we shine a light on loss and grief and how it impacts our lives. We are here to provide hope, resources, and a community so no one feels alone in their grief. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Power of Love show, sponsored by the D.D. Jackson Foundation. My name is TJ Jackson, and with me is my eldest brother, Taj Jackson.
What's going on, T?
Nothing much, big bro. As of course you know, but most know, right? You may be watching us on Facebook or on YouTube, but you also may be listening to us via the podcast. Yes, each and every episode slowly gets turned into a podcast. I say slowly because it's not instant, but by the time you may be watching this, it is probably pretty much instant. So I say all this just to let you all know that if you don't catch us on Facebook or YouTube, you can also listen to each and every show. So make sure to check that out. One important thing I do need to share is that we are not licensed therapists. We are just ordinary people who've experienced loss in our lives. We've been impacted by it. And we like to think that we have learned from it. Saying that, if you need professional help, we urge you to seek it and find it. Do not just rely on us. Taj, that's pretty much our intro for us. The next phase of the show, although we're only a minute and a half, is to find out how we have been doing the last week. Anything exciting in your world? Say no more, Taj.
I know. We do this every episode, and I still can't. I still get surprised every time we do it. Raising kids is my life in that way. It's an adventure in itself, and I've had a bunch of sleepless nights. We've alternated between me and my wife in terms of sleepless nights, and that's just become the norm now. So
yeah,
that's about it.
And I know it's not easy, Taj, and I know there's a third. I stopped. I'll share this, but we all know this. We even know the gender. So, but there's a third on the way, and that's going to be the challenge for you, my friend, is finding that sleep, because you're going to need that.
I already gave up on sleep on the first one.
No, you can't give up, man. It's too early.
I don't like taking that. Like, I know that's the secret, is to take like power naps and stuff. I don't like taking naps during the day. I feel like I'm cheating myself, but that might all change.
Well, hopefully in time, you will get the rest you need. I've been there, done that. My youngest is 8, so I've kind of been able to graduate from the phase you're in the thick of, and just know it does get easier in terms of rest, but it still stays challenging for life.
Yeah, so, Tori's in the teething, like she has a tooth coming in, and she's not. She's dealing with it a lot different than Taylor dealt with it in terms of.
Yeah. It's different. Every kid's different too.
Every kid is different.
That's another thing. As for me, let's try to think. I was in Huntington Beach, California.
Ooh, nice.
Over the weekend. The girls, actually, JoJo had a soccer tournament, a beach soccer tournament. That was a lot of fun. And I was just thinking about it, Taj. We used to go to the beach every now and then, but none of us really loved the beach, right?
No, we never really. Well, it was also hard too, because we had 2 parents that didn't know how to swim. So that I think if they knew how to swim and could take us out in the waves and stuff, it would have been different. But that probably also affected it. But yeah, we were never beach people in that way. We'd go to the beach and build castles and all that stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, well, a couple of things. Rio's really into the Titanic, so we built a Titanic ship, which was actually pretty cool. I was proud of, but we did get a little cheat code, because he took like a little bit of a class before with someone on how to build stuff in the sand. But the one thing I will say, as I've gotten older, I've learned to enjoy the sand more, because I feel like there's a connecting with nature and the world.
Oh, definitely. The waves and all that stuff in the beach.
Yeah, well, exactly. You're in an environment that's very nature, the beauty of nature, but also being barefoot. I think we're so used to being in shoes, and just being barefoot and touching ground on the earth can really do some fulfilling that we can't really articulate or specify. But it's a very powerful thing that I think feeds our soul. So, one thing I've shared plenty of times is the role nature has played in my grieving process. And, whether it's hikes, whether it's, in places like Tennessee, just doing strolls, or in this case, in the beach, there's so much wonderful nature parts of the world that just getting outside and connecting with nature can really help you if you're going through anything.
Yeah. I think the movie Jaws made sure that I didn't go inside the water for a long period of time.
It's funny
I still
because
hear that music, by the way, when I approach, like, in the beach.
that kind of impact, but being 5 years younger, I was probably in diapers when it came out, so I missed it in a way. It didn't have the same scary impact as it had for people
You
who
weren't
were a
born
bit
when it
older.
came out, just letting you know.
Oh, okay, there you go. What year was it?
I think it's 77.
Okay, there you go. I wasn't even
78.
born, so there you go. So that Jaws fear doesn't faze me.
Yeah.
But anyways, Todd, let's get on with our show. We have a special pair of ladies coming on the Power of Love show. Not just one, two special guests. They are sisters and co-founders of Good Grief.
Love
It's
it.
Melissa Jenski and Kristin Mortensen. I hope I'm saying both names right.
Yeah,
They will
did
correct
you
me.
ask beforehand?
I
You're just
didn't.
gonna
I
butcher
forgot
it.
to.
Okay.
It's okay. They will correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
Melissa Jenski is a design professional with over 10 years of experience in specialty retail and wholesale, while the highlights of her career include overseeing the retail operations at the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum, designing jewelry for Sundance catalog, and creating the merchandise assortment for World Class Spa. They were merely stepping stones on her way to realizing her dreams of becoming an entrepreneur.
Nice.
As co-founder of Good Grief, Melissa is the chief inspirational officer and is in charge of fulfillment and inventory management. An autoimmune diagnosis in her 20s, followed by infertility and a miscarriage in her 30s, inspired Melissa to start Good Grief. When she's not busy working, you can find her daydreaming about her next business idea, planning her next big vacation, or obsessively Marie Kondo-ing an untouched area of her house. She currently resides in Santa Fe, New Mexico, with her two favorite people, her husband and daughter. Kristin Mortensen is a marketing professional with over a decade of experience helping other brands tell their story, engage with customers, and above all, make money. Burnt out from the corporate grind and pandemic fatigue, she wanted something to call her own. In 2021, she joined forces with her sister as the co-founder of Good Grief and is responsible for the marketing and e-commerce side of the business. Her love for traveling catapulted her to Europe shortly after graduating from ASU, and she's made the UK her home after being abroad for over 13 years.
Wow.
But it hasn't all been smooth sailing. It's been a whirlwind of divorce and heartbreak, learning to love again, and more recently, the happiest moments as a new mom sprinkled with postpartum depression and anxiety. She lives with long-term partner Adam, and they recently welcomed a new addition to their family in September 2022. Congratulations.
Yeah.
When she's not juggling work and motherhood, you can find her traveling, hiking, or mostly likely a little bit of both. Good Grief is an online gifting platform that sells curated care packages for life's twists and turns, loss of a loved one, cancer, mental health, miscarriage, and beyond. Filled with equal parts heart and humor, each Good Grief box contains a selection of practical tools for healing and self-care and is packed to perfection with a handwritten card. Here today to discuss a bit about their work with Good Grief Shop. Without much further ado, please welcome Melissa Jenski and Kristin Mortensen to the Power of Love show. Hello, sisters. I almost said hello, ladies.
Hi.
But first, how is everyone doing?
Good. That was a long intro, so
It
I was done. I'm
was.
happy you did it.
How did I do with the names? Pretty good?
Nailed it.
Perfect. Okay. You guys would let me know if I didn't, right?
We would.
Okay, good.
Okay. So we heard a little bit about this in your bios, but can you each share in your own words a bit about your personal motivation for launching Good Grief?
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, autoimmune disease. So it really started with me when I was 29. I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. And it took me a long time to get a diagnosis, like a year and a half. And by the time I got diagnosed, I was really sick. I could barely walk or get dressed or do basic things. And in that process, it was very lonely. I was 29, so I hadn't had any friends or family. I hadn't gone through anything like that. And it was very lonely. I would definitely have people say well-meaning, well-intentioned things to me, but just not helpful. Like, oh, you don't look sick, or oh, you're too young to have that. So I was definitely feeling very isolated. I lived in Alaska at the time too, which is a very isolating place in and of itself, I found, for myself anyways. So that was my kind of first experience going through this kind of traumatic health crisis, and just kind of realizing how alone I felt, and just people didn't really know what to say, what to do. And then fast forward a few years after that, my partner and I started to try for a family, and easier said than done. It's interesting. I feel like it's one of those, like a really big decision, one of the biggest decisions you make of your life, to, start a family, and then you have no control over it. So that's kind of where I found myself, trying to get pregnant and just not having it happen. And all my friends, they just got pregnant just like that. So none of them had struggled with infertility. When we finally did get pregnant, our first pregnancy ended in a miscarriage. And again, felt very alone, very isolated. Again, none of my community had gone through that before. So that was another instance where I was just like, wow, like what, this is so interesting. And I don't have the support I need, and no one knows what I'm experiencing. So those were kind of like the major things that happened in my life. And I think kind of a business idea was sparked from my rheumatoid arthritis journey. And I always knew I wanted to like figure out some way to help people. So I had kind of dabbled in like creating a business over the years, but never really brought it into fruition. And then during the pandemic, my sister and I started talking a lot more. We were home, we were talking. I had a 2-year-old then, so a lot more family time, long distance. And she was feeling frustrated and jumped on board to help me with the business. And I'll let her talk a little bit about that too, and her experience as well.
Nice.
Yeah. As you mentioned, obviously my story is a lot different, but I was married in my 20s, and by the age of 29, I was divorced. And at that age, all my friends were getting married. So, I was the first one to go through it. And, no one, again, knew what to say or what to do, and I received unhelpful comments like, oh, there's more fish in the sea and stuff like that. And, of course they're right, but I was grieving someone who I thought I would spend the rest of my life with, not thinking about like who I'm going to be dating next, So my sister and I would kind of, talk a lot about just like, why is it so hard to like say the right thing or do the right thing? And we really just kind of wanted to bridge that gap and, have an easier way to break the ice when someone's going through a difficult moment, instead of just, doing nothing or saying something that is, hurtful or offensive. So yeah, as she said, the pandemic hit and we're all at home. It seems like a long time ago now, but we started talking more and more about, this is something that the world really needs. And since we were all at home, we decided, it's now or never, and it's a great time to launch a business.
So cool. So cool. One thing that caught my attention was, so it wasn't really a loss of life that inspired Good Grief. It seems like various other types of loss. And why I wanted to bring attention to that is because it just shows that various different types of losses still are very difficult and very, even though society sometimes will brush those away because it's like, if it's not death, then it's not a real loss. But these things affected you all so much to the point where you guys started a business about this. And I think it's important to mention that and highlight
there
that.
was a miscarriage though, TJ, remember?
That's true. I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, but I think that's totally true. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Grief can happen with any types of loss. And I mean, for me, with my rheumatoid arthritis, I was young. I thought I would be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life, and just like grappling with who I was and what my identity was at that time. So yeah, there's a lot of grief in that.
And like the main reason why I want to share that is because there's so many people out there that are going through grief, but they can't articulate that as grief because they didn't lose a sibling or a parent, and I appreciate you guys telling. That's why it was important for me to hear your stories, is because it tells people that you could still go through grief without losing, a parent or a best friend or something like that. And I think that's important for the world to hear, because grief is something we don't really usually talk about in society anyways to begin with. And when it does get mentioned, it usually has to do with someone losing, a life in that way. So I thought that was important to share. So I'm curious now, though, what was your mission and hope for Good Grief when setting out?
Well, our mission is really simple, just to, help people support one another through difficult times. And I think, like, as a society, we are so good at celebrating all the happy moments in life, birthdays and anniversaries and stuff like that. But we're not so great at not so great at supporting people during the difficult times. So we just really wanted to, be kind of bridge that gap to really help people support one another.
Yeah.
I think, kind of a fundamental shift. Again, you mentioned we're not good in a society of talking about grief and loss, and just really kind of shifting the needle on that, and really being a vehicle for people to start talking about that and supporting one another is really how we see ourselves.
What has been the most rewarding? And I'm going to ask, what's been the most challenging aspects of bringing this brand to fruition?
Oh gosh. I think Melissa would agree with me, but the most rewarding is, so with our care packages, we offer the option to send a card. So you can, send us a message and we'll handwrite it in the card. And every single day, like, these cards make me laugh. They make me cry. They're so good. And it just really validates that, like, what we're doing is needed. So that's the most rewarding thing. Melissa?
And sometimes, we get a card and we don't exactly know the situation. We know that they're supporting someone, but every so often we have to correspond with the customer because of some, reason. And lots of times people will write us back and be like, this is for my friend whose 3-year-old just died, or is everyone still there? Oh.
Yes, we're still here. I'm just showing some visuals for those who are watching. We are here. Yes.
So yeah, we'll get like more of a peek into what the care package is for, and it can be really intense, like, for sure. And
I do have a question, Melissa. So is this? I want you to explain without saying it. I want you to come from you guys. If someone's going through a hard time, they could come to Good Grief, and what do you guys do? So that way, I would love just to clarify so people know. And if I'm wrong, if I even set that up wrong, you correct me. I want people to understand exactly what Good Grief does.
Yeah, Kristin, you run with it.
Okay, so Good Grief is an e-commerce site, so we're only online. You can find us at shopgoodgrief.com. And there's 2 parts to our website. So one side, which we launched with 2 years ago, is, see where it says curated care packages. So those are all curated care packages, and we have cast the net wide. So it's everything from loss of a loved one to job loss, to miscarriage, infertility, cancer, so on and so forth. There's 10 different scenarios, and we have about 70 different curated care packages that are just ready to ship. And then the second part, which you can see on the left, is create your own care package. So we launched this last year, and this is where you can go in and you can add specific products to your box. individual products, you can kind of create your own. So whichever customer journey you choose, you have the option to add a card, which I mentioned before, which you can personalize. And then we also have add-ons. So we work with different experts in their different industries. So miscarriage counseling, meal delivery, grief counseling, different experts that you can add on, and you can get a gift certificate to send in the care package. Melissa, do you want to talk about kind of more product focus? Because she does.
Yeah. As far as products go, we really try to curate a collection of useful items. We're both kind of minimalist, so we don't like a lot of stuff. We don't like useless stuff. We don't want people just getting stuff that's like junk and it just sits there and they have to throw it away, you know? So definitely a lot of books, a lot of like cozy items to cocoon when you are grieving, chocolate, of course, cozy socks, candles. We have lots of like fun, sweary things. What else do we have? Some beauty products, bath products. So lots of things like that, like really comforting kinds of products. So.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Very cool. And then I should make this announcement now that there's a 15% off discount too. And I'll circle back to this, but just want people to know that Kristin and Melissa have been so kind to give our community a 15% discount, provided you use the code DDJF.
And that's the letters DDJF.
Yes, thank you, Taj. So we'll circle back to that towards the end of the show, but just wanted people to know that you can get a discount as well. Okay, next question for both of you ladies: how has launching Good Grief changed or aided your personal grief journeys, if it's done that at all?
You gonna go first? You want me to?
You can go.
Oh, all right. I think it's been interesting. I recently had my best friend lost her mom to suicide a few weeks ago. And it's been a really intense experience for me. And like, especially now that I am working in the grief space, I felt a lot of pressure. Like this is the work I'm in and I should know what to do. And like, I need to send a care package. So it was a really interesting experience for me we're still I'm still in that process with her and supporting her through her grief. And, kind of beating myself up through it, like I mentioned, but in the end, I realized that the most important thing I could do was just be with her. And that's what I've done, is like check in with her every day and cry with her and sob with her and send her resources when she wants them. So I don't know if Good Grief has necessarily helped me do that better. I think, my own experiences going through my grief journey. But yeah, I think that was just like a really interesting experience for me, because I haven't really had that kind of intense experience supporting someone else before. It's new for me. And so that's been interesting.
Kristin?
And I think for me, it's just, when you hear from our customers or you read the cards and, people are going through such horrible things, you just realize how awful life really can be to people. And it's just, I think it's like really increased my, like empathy for people. And, you don't know what anyone's going through. I know that sounds so cliche. So it's just like, be kind to people, because you don't know kind of what battles they're fighting. And so I think for me, it's just like really opening my eyes to, wow, some people really, go through really horrible, horrible things.
Yeah.
Todd, I feel like you have a question. Am I wrong?
No. I have a question. In terms of because you said that kind of like this came out of being at home from the pandemic and stuff like that. Was there any real reservations? And I know there's always a dynamic, because we have a dynamic as brothers and stuff like that kind of cheerleaded each other on in terms of doing this, or was that kind of, well, I don't want to say too much, but in terms of that, because I'm always fascinated, when people take that leap of faith of creating a business and then launching something that they don't know how it's going to work, but they know that they feel with their heart it's going to be, helpful in that way, because it's something that they would have wanted in that way. That's what, so can you explain more on that aspect?
Oh, yes. Definitely. Like I mentioned, I'm very entrepreneurial. So I've had like little small like artist business in the past and stuff. And, like I mentioned before, I kind of dabbled with this idea more kind of for just specifically for rheumatoid arthritis in the past. So it's kind of been an idea that had always been there. And then I think it expanded over time. And when my sister came on, she was like, "Oh, you've done a lot of stuff, but you haven't really made much progress." I'm like, that's totally how I am. Like, I can work, and again, I'm like kind of the visionary, like the dreamer. I'm not so much the execution, part of the equation. So I think it really took Kristin coming on to be like, okay, let's push this through the finish line. And I think also for me, there was like that fear aspect, kind of that limiting belief of like putting, like in my head, it's like this beautiful idea and it's like everything's great, but you put it in the world and you don't know what's going to happen. I had a friend recently who just launched an app, and she said, I feel like she summed it up perfectly. She said, "I feel like I just planned the biggest party and no one came." And that's like, you put all this work into just launching it out into the world, and then you just don't know what's going to happen. And then that's like when the real work begins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
I've never heard of it said that way, but it definitely is a real thing. We can relate a bit from the music side. We spent years working on a project, and like you said, years and years working on something, building an album, and then the work just starts on the release day, and it's like for everyone's just experiencing it, but for you've already put so much work into. Now, another thing, we've us being brothers and working together, I'm curious to know, how has that experience for you as sisters? How has it been? I know you guys aren't in the same city, but I would love to know about your experience working on a passion project with family.
Yeah, it's been really good, actually. I think, I think prior to this, Melissa, correct me if I'm wrong, but we probably spoke like once a month, maybe.
Yeah.
And now we speak every single day. So I feel like it's, brought us so much closer, even though we live on opposite sides of the world. And as Melissa kind of touched up on, I feel like our skills and experience complement each other. So Melissa, like she said, she's very entrepreneurial. She's the visionary. She has tons of great ideas. And I'm like the person that's like, this is how we got to get things done. So we definitely complement each other well. Also, she has retail background. I have more marketing background. So it's good. But I would say like one of the challenges is like, we have to wear all the hats. There's just the two of us on, that work at Good Grief. So, we're mothers. I work part-time. You have to learn like stuff like, accounting and paying taxes and all this other stuff in the business that we're like completely clueless on and, are learning. So it definitely has its challenges, but 100%, it's definitely brought us closer. And I feel like it's been really good because, as you mentioned before, my daughter was born 8 months ago now. So, we were like on this journey of like, building this passion project together. And now I feel like we're on this journey of, raising our daughters together. So it's kind of been really just unfolded really well. So, yeah.
Melissa, you want to add anything?
No, I think one of the funny things I'll just add is before Kristin had a baby, and I have a daughter who's almost 5, so she would always be like, "Why can't you just get that done?" Like, now I'm like, now you see how hard it is. Like,
I am eating those words now because I am like, what is time? I don't even know.
Yeah. It reminds me of my brother and I, because although I'm the younger brother, he's going down a road that I felt like I was going down decades ago.
Yeah.
Literally. So
you were.
You were. I'm curious to know, what have you learned about yourselves? And then I guess I'll ask, since your sisters, also about each other since launching Good Grief.
I don't know. I think I feel like I definitely am. What's that? There's the color thing that Melissa, my brother-in-law, your husband, does, and I'm definitely more of like a yellow-red person, where I'm like kind of ordering things around and stuff. And I feel like Melissa's a lot more a kind of more of the like green and blue colors.
I love it.
Which
I've
is
never
bad.
heard. I've never heard this color analogy.
Oh,
So
Yeah,
I
it's
really?
a
assume.
color
Yeah.
personality kind of test. So
Yeah,
Oh.
it's, I can't remember what the colors are, but yeah, we're definitely opposites. That's for
Okay.
sure.
yeah, and
Melissa, how about?
I think
Yeah.
that's why it works so well. Because I know I would not make a good solopreneur. Like I just wouldn't. I
Mm.
would, you know. So I think yeah, Kristen holds me accountable and reins things in, and her motto is done not perfect. So it's just like get it out there. We got to finish this. So yeah, I don't know. What else have we learned about ourselves? I'm not sure. Um,
Well, it's still early. You're still
yeah.
going to continue to learn. By the way, Miss Silent Siren says I like to do the color thing. Yeah, I've never heard of the color thing either. It's very cool. Colors
Oh,
based on energy. Okay. There you go. So I got to look into that. Sarah wants to know, what's the ultimate long-term goal with the business? Where do you see it going in the next 5 years?
Well, this week was very exciting. I was working part-time as well, and I just stepped into Good Grief full-time. So that was an exciting first step for us.
Nice.
Right now, our warehouse is in my house in the garage. So I'm hoping hopefully in the next year, we like are able to scale and like get an actual warehouse. We're busy enough to warrant that. I'm just trying to get Kristen to move here to the US would be great. But I think really just like keep growing, expanding. A big part of our mission too is just like community and like really like trying to build more community with lots of the partnerships that we have created and locally as well. And being able to just give back. We try to give back some of our profits. So just being able to do more of that.
So cool. What is something that you did not expect that has kind of hit you from the experience of and I don't really necessarily mean from a business standpoint. I mean from a grief or from whether it's customers, or have you learned anything about people, anything in the realm of grief? What would you say you have learned from starting this business? Anything?
No, I think it's just how universal it is. Like we
Yeah.
all go through this, we all are going to go through some type of loss at some point in our lives. We're all going to die. We're all going to have our loved ones die. And it's just such a universal human experience. And I don't know, just really wanting to shift like how we deal with grief. I mean, I've had lots of conversations with my friend who lost her mom about just, especially in America, I don't think we have a lot of ways that we honor the deceased in the everyday. We don't have Dia de los Muertos, or we're Japanese, like they have special celebrations. I think that's really lacking in our culture. And I think that really makes it hard to grieve. I feel like, we have funerals in our culture and we're kind of like, that's it, pack it away, we're done. So I don't know. That's not really an answer.
No,
No.
that is the exact
Yeah.
answer. I wasn't expecting a specific answer, but I think that's such a strong answer because it's so true. The American culture, especially, I know there's other cultures as well, but it's more like you put a Band-Aid on, you keep going. It's not. We don't have the Dia de los Muertos. I know I'm butchering that, but we don't have those kind of traditions that can help us grieve in a proper or
to
healthy
celebrate. Yeah, or
Yeah.
to celebrate.
Celebrate, yeah, to honor, to remember, to share. And like I kind of weave that into, my family life with my daughter. But I think that's like my next challenge I want to take on is like figuring out how we can transform our culture and bring that into the everyday.
So we are talking with Melissa Jenski and Kristin Mortensen from Good Grief. Want to remind everyone you can go to shopgoodgrief.com. But you guys are also, let me finish the thought. I have a problem doing this sometimes. You could go to shopgoodgrief.com where you could get curated care packages, or you can create your own care packages. And what I was going to say is you are also on social media. So you guys could follow Good Grief on Instagram at goodgrief.shop. Also, there's a Facebook page. There's a Pinterest at Good Grief Shop. And then, well, before I get to the next part, is there one of those that you guys would say you're the most active on out of those three that we mentioned?
Instagram.
Instagram. Okay. Because I was going to ask you, what kind of things do you do on Pinterest? Is it?
We just have like some of our care packages that are just like images and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Instagram. Okay. So
I don't think I've touched it since I've become a mom. So
don't worry. And don't even worry. We all understand. We're all parents here. And then contacts. hello@shopgoodgrief.com if you want to reach out to them. And then again, let me bring up the artwork for this because it's so beautiful. Shopgoodgrief.com. I love that you can create your own care package or you could get a curated care package. Good grief care packages when bad things happen to good people, care packages for life's twists and turns. And a reminder for anyone who's watching or listening, you can get 15% off by using the promo code DDJF. Now, before we get to the final part of the show, there's a couple of things I want to highlight. Adrienne Brown says, I'm on your site and I love what I'm seeing. She says, I like the grumpy moody bar. That sounds very interesting, but I love it.
It's chocolate, yeah.
So cool. And Jack Love says, I love the create your own package. Super, super, super cool. Kasik, Clarissa says, grief comes in all types of ways. Losing an animal, friend, child, loved one, very important. And Lala Chan says, this is very educational. Okay. So I feel like I've been talking throughout this thing, but Taj, was there anything else you want to say before we pass it to the ladies?
Yeah, just right before, I would just also say help spread the word, because I know that that's something that you guys need as well. It's just the word out there. Such a great idea, and it's needed in this community. So for our community to, even if it's something that you don't have anyone or any situation now, help spread the word because it's very much appreciated.
And I'm going to add to that going through grief, I went through various different types of grief, but when you can receive something in the mail, it does touch you, even if it's something you don't necessarily think you need. It does help bring support. So, and that's an awesome way to not only show love and support for someone who's not with you in your same household, but that also helps spread the word. And we've made no secret of this, that when it comes to grief, we have to figure a way out in society to be more open and honest about it instead of keeping it under wraps and be quiet with it. And when you can do things like this, it really helps everyone prepare and recover and continue moving on in the healthiest way possible with love and support. So please make sure to go check it out. And if there's a way you can find someone to help, very much try it. And again, you're getting 50% off with the DDJF promo code. Okay. I think we're at that time, ladies, where I warned you, I should say. I didn't prepare you, but I warned you that we like to close our show pretty much giving you guys free reign to talk about anything you want. It could be on topic, it could be off topic, it could be a quote, it could be your favorite Netflix show, your favorite meal. It doesn't matter. We just want to give both of you an opportunity to share with our community whatever it is you want to share. So who wants to go first?
I think I will go first. I'm going to share. I think we both have quotes we're going to read.
Cool.
And I also wanted to add that we also do corporate, and we are looking for more corporate accounts. We'd love to do like corporate wellness accounts to support people going through postpartum and grief and loss and wellness programs for mental health. So throwing that out there.
Love it.
Right.
So I'm going to share something. This is one of the books we sell. It's called The Comfort Book by Matt Haig. And it's been super popular. He's struggled with mental health issues and stuff like that. So he has several books, and this, he didn't write this part, but it's by Rainer Maria Rilke from Letters to a Young Poet. I'm sure many people know of that poet. It says, do not think that the person who is trying to console you lives effortlessly among the simple, quiet words that sometimes make you feel better. But if it were any different, he could never have found the words that he did.
Very cool. Powerful. Kristin?
Yes. So mine's a resource, and I'll share a quote as well. So I don't know if you know her, but Nora McInerney, she is great. She's written several books. She has a podcast, Terrible Thanks for Asking. She's pretty funny and really relatable. So if you haven't heard of her, check her out. And I will leave you with a quote from her. So the quote is, "I'm not so worried anymore because now I know nobody knows what they're doing in life, and nobody knows what to do when bad things happen to themselves or to other people. We make it up as we go, and sometimes we are big and generous, and sometimes we are small and petty. We say the wrong things, we obsess over all the ways we got it wrong, and all the ways that other people did too. The only thing I know for sure is that it is okay to not know everything, to try and fail, and to sometimes suck at life, as long as you try to get better."
Nice. I'm a huge quote person, so I loved both of them. And I thank you both for sharing that with our community. There's a couple of more comments I want to highlight. And one is from Caitlin, who says, "This is the answer to the long-standing question, what should I say? Or what can I do to help someone who is grieving?"
Yeah.
You guys can simply go to exactly right. You can simply go to shopgoodgrief.com, check out the different options you can order for someone who's going through a life difficult moment. Again, with the promo code DDJF, as Taj mentioned, just the 4 letters DDJF, you get 15% off. But also, as Taj mentioned, make sure to spread the word so that we can support these kind of entrepreneurs and these kind of businesses that are trying to make the world a better and easier place to live. As T's Tiny Kitchen says, thanks for going ahead with your idea. And she also adds, we'll definitely spread the word. So I love it. Thank you so much, D's Tiny Kitchen. Taj, anything else you want to say before we sign off?
No, I mean, I'm always fascinated by the stories that I hear on the podcast and stuff like that. But it's I love this when it's siblings and stuff like that, and the dynamic, and you're both laser focused on helping in that way, and having a product that helps, and being entrepreneurs, which is always fun as well. And that, so thank you for coming on, and thank you for sharing your story, and also for this great, amazing product or products in terms of the website. Yeah.
Love
Thank
it.
you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cool. Very cool. All right, you guys, we are going to sign off. We want to thank everyone for joining us on this Power of Love episode. Remember, it's shopgoodgrief.com. Make sure to go check it out. Todd, big brother laughing at me. It's okay.
I know.
It's okay.
I tried
it's all
not
good.
to. Sorry.
We will be back next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Kristin, Melissa, on behalf of my brother Taj and our family and our entire organization and community, we want to thank you both for joining us. We wish you the best, and you guys are welcome anytime back. You're welcome back
Thank you
anytime.
so much.
Okay?
I really enjoyed it.
Thank you both so much, and we will see you guys next Wednesday at 1 o'clock. Adios, everyone.